Uh, I'm not seeing the interpreter button for Michelle. Do you
Uh,
see that?
she's already should have capabilities.
Oh,
It'll
great.
be under, it should have been right there with your, unless you make me host again, I can't, I don't see everything you see.
Okay.
And quickly, what I would do is ask, is there anybody that needs
Yeah.
interpretation first?
Yeah, I'll ask that first. All right. We'll go ahead and get started. Are there any folks here that would prefer to listen in Spanish? If you would like to listen in Spanish, you can write that in the comment box and I'll say that in Spanish. Tenemos a Michelle Pelayo en el webinar de hoy y ella puede traducir si hay alguien a quien le gustaría escuchar en el webinar en español. Si hay alguna persona que le gustaría escuchar el webinar en español, por favor, indíquelo en los comentarios. Si no, no haremos que Michelle traduzca. Este webinar estará disponible más adelante en la forma grabada con subtítulos en inglés y español. So is there anybody in here that would like to listen in Spanish? Let's see. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody, but like I said in Spanish, this will be available later in a YouTube link on forestry-webinars.net and with Spanish subtitles. So, hello folks, my name is Jamie Dinkins Bookwalter. I'm the mountain conifer IPM specialist for North Carolina. My position is usually in charge of making pest control financially and environmentally sustainable in Western North Carolina Christmas tree industry. However, as we all know, Helene hit us really hard here in Western North Carolina, so we organized this webinar to connect farmers and farm workers to resources that maybe they didn't know that existed, or if they knew that this resource existed, they may not have known how to access that resource. Many of our speakers will be able to answer your questions right after their talk. And if you have more questions, some of our speakers will be able to hang around after all the speakers are done speaking to answer additional questions. So we really appreciate all the speakers that have donated their afternoon to speak and help folks. And let's go ahead and get started. Our first speaker will be Jerry Moody. He's the Avery County Extension Director, and he will discuss short and midterm needs of Christmas tree growers in his area and the state of affairs post Helene. Yeah, so Jerry, do you have any questions or do you have any pictures that you'd like to show?
Yeah, I've got some quick PowerPoint here.
Okay.
Uh, what do I need to do to share it?
Just click share at the bottom,
Okay,
green arrow.
share. Okay. Okay, I can't see anything. Let me try to get this over here. Whoops. Well, I'm not doing too well with this, Jamie. So,
Just play from start.
okay. I need a play from start.
There we go.
So this storm hit us pretty hard. Um, I grew up in Florida and I grew up around hurricanes and tornadoes and stuff like that. But I can tell you that I've never seen such destruction as I've seen in Avery County. And I know that Yancey and Mitchell are far worse than Avery. What you're seeing here is a picture of landslides. We never had landslides before. We probably have 250,000, 300,000 trees that were destroyed by landslides. The other problem is that many of our ornamental growers were on the rivers and on the low lying areas. And as you can see in these pictures here, we had 20-foot rivers height going over many of these locations. Today we met with, I had my growers come in and we met with Caleb Rathbone with the NCDA, and the 5 growers that were in my office. We estimated their losses alone were $27.5 million. Many of these are losses of infrastructure. These are losses of actual land. Our rivers went from 25, 30 feet wide to 100 feet wide. We've had equipment. They put their equipment away from the rivers, and even at those locations, they were destroyed. In this picture here, you look up in the tree, you'll see a 7-gallon or 10-gallon container that high in the tree. Their immediate needs are basically triage. I mean, we've been working with the DOT to get roads so we can get our Christmas trees out, and we think we've done that. We have a few roads left that there's no way a tractor trailer is going to get on, and very hopefully we'll get a low boys on. If you look at that second picture there, that is a 24-inch I-beam that's bent like a U. It's the damage, like I said, was really incredible. Our infrastructure is hurt in this county. We've lost many roads. 19E is gone for about a year. And all these growers that I have pictures from here represent about 200 employees, of which are probably about 100 of them are H2As and the rest are just local guys. The immediate need is we just need time to get this stuff cleaned up and time to get the trees out, what we can get out. I don't foresee choose and cut being a problem. I don't foresee getting the wholesale trees out being a problem. Our problems are going to be multi-year. We need some sort of program in place that we can get a reduced so they can push their losses out over multiple years. Because we're talking, I've got 2 of them that are considering, after being in the business for 50 years, I've got 2 or 3 of them considering to get out. That they might be better off selling their land to development at 30,000 an acre than going back into debt, $10 million to try to get their operations back up and running. The most damage we got was on our ornamental side. Again, they're in the bottom areas. And many of these farms that you see here, they went out of their way to prepare for it, but you can't prepare for 19 inches before the storm and another 20 to 30 inches during the storm. I think there's one recording up here that said we got somewhere between 50 and 60 inches of rain. I don't know how accurate that is, but from the damage that I saw, I think it's pretty accurate. Another unseen damage we have is one of our foresters, Jim Phillips, estimates he lost in some areas 70% of a forest stand. And so you're looking at 50 to 60 years trying to recover. And one of the things that my growers did say today, and I'll end with this, is that there is no recovery. There is absolutely, you're not going to be able to recover to get back in, because some growers have lost, actual land, 5 to 10 acres of land that has gone down the stream, and it's nothing more than a rock field. So there's just restarting, and whether or not they want to restart or not, it's going to be dependent upon what help, if we can get any, from the government. So I think that's about it for me up here. We're still trying to just clean up. We still got people that are missing, and we still have damages that we're trying to ascertain. So.
Thanks for that, Jerry. Next we have Brad Edwards, who is the IPM program assistant in Ash and Allegheny. Jerry, if you wouldn't mind, stop sharing your screen and we'll talk to Brad next. Brad is the IPM program assistant in Ash, Allegheny, and Watauga, and he'll discuss his post Helene experience with Farmers in Need. Let me unmute Brad.
Hello. So Jerry definitely has a lot more damage in Avery County than we do in Allegheny or Ash. Allegheny skated through this thing pretty clean. really, there's not that much damage here. The western side of Ashe County, there's still some roads that's got to be repaired before we can get some trees out. And these are areas in that corner of Tennessee, North Carolina, and Virginia where there's a lot of Christmas trees. So the trees themselves are okay. We don't have as much ornamental production as what they might have in Avery County. So we didn't see the kind of losses Jerry did. But still, we've been in the field for 22 days after the hurricane, just trying to help get some areas cleaned up. And um, it's sad, man. It's the people that got hit the hardest were the people that honestly were in the worst shape to start with.
All right, let's move on. Thanks for that, Brad. Appreciate all the work that you've done getting folks just water and basic necessities there and up in your area. Let's move on to Sam Marshall. He's the area specialized agent in ornamentals, nurseries, and greenhouses in the Western region. He'll discuss short and midterm needs of nursery growers and the state of affairs post Helene in his area of expertise.
All right. You are seeing my screen and hearing me okay?
Yep.
Jamie, y'all can hear me and see me
Yeah.
okay?
I can hear you great.
All right, good. All right. Yeah, just like everybody else, the devastation, of course, has been catastrophic. And I have the unfortunate, I guess how you look at it, just the unfortunate position where I've seen the damage across so many counties here in Western North Carolina. Especially with nurseries and greenhouses. Just to give y'all some background, North Carolina, and this is a little older data, we're about $556 million in total sales, and Western North Carolina accounts for about 150 million of that annually. Most of our ornamental production comes from nursery stock. We do have several large greenhouse producers. Most of our greenhouses were okay. Some of the, Van Wingerden and Mills River lost about $500,000 worth of poinsettias. So the majority of our losses came from the loss of wood ornamentals. So that's trees and shrubs. Approximately, and this is a ballpark guess here, but based on the number of registered and certified nurseries that we have, approximately 25% of those nurseries were affected in some way. The majority of our damage, kind of what Jerry said, is going to be in this sort of corridor here that you see in the red boxes. So Burke, Caldwell County are two of our largest field-grown nursery stock counties. But McDowell, Avery, Buncombe, and Henderson County also account for large production. I can confirm as of yesterday, and I would still say that this is a very conservative estimate. We're at about $125 million in direct nursery losses for this region. So if you're doing the math, $125 million of our total annual sales for this region are gone. And if you look at the losses across this Western region, Avery's 20 million, Burt estimated at 40 million, Caldwell 20 million, McDowell 15 million, Yancey 10, Buncombe 5, Gaston is 3, and Henderson, I have not gotten a solid number from them, but we have quite a few. We have several field nurseries in that area that were hit, I know. So that number, 125 million, will go up. So I don't want to overstate this, but I would dare say, and not to minimize the damage that's occurred for other producers in our region, but the nursery sector of Western North Carolina is by far one of the hardest hit in this region from the storm. So the losses are significant. Um, and I try to emphasize this that, we're looking just at direct nursery losses, the plant stock. Does not account for infrastructure. This does not account for any equipment that was lost. So that number is going to be very, 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 a lot higher than it is now. So again, the loss and the devastation has been catastrophic. We have been able to meet a lot of the short-term needs that producers had, namely that the sort of the on-the-ground efforts initially were to get PPE and equipment for cleaning out trees. We were able to, with the help of some of our agency partners, to get a $5,000 store credit from Lowe's to buy backpack blowers to get the growers um, that equipment and divvied out so that they could clean trees. We've been donated irrigation equipment from nurseries all across the state, heavy equipment. We've been able to get backhoes and track hose delivered where roads need to be rebuilt. Several agencies have donated engine oil and hydraulic fluid, water for irrigation. So we had several growers in the Asheville area that were without water and couldn't water plants. So we've been able to coordinate some of those efforts and meet those short term uh, right now needs. But our biggest one right now, this is where uh, a lot of our growers are having more challenges. Is that that on the labor side, a lot of the H2A contracts are ending for our nursery production. Some have already ended and a lot of workers have already gone back, but we're running into the issue where there is still cleanup that has to happen. But there's also, we're getting into planting season, and very soon after, we'll be getting into digging season. And so the question is, how are we going to get laborers, where H2A is already gone or contracts are ending, and most nurseries here are not extending the H2A contracts for their workers, mainly because of the upfront expense to extend those contracts. So a lot of those short, medium range needs really fall under this category. The questions that we had is, are we able, and this is for the panel, so I'm asking on behalf of my growers, but our work crews from other areas where other contracts may be ending soon or reaching a slower time of the year, are we able to bring those folks in? And we also need guidance on possibly hiring domestic labor crews, any funds that might be available from the U.S. or North Carolina Departments of Labor. And then of course individuals who are out there. I know Drew Long is here today that can help our nurserymen with the application process or however that needs to be completed. So um, I know these efforts are not done and made in a vacuum, and we have had just tremendous support from our agency partners, private government. It has been a tremendous showing of support from people in North Carolina, around North Carolina, to donate time and money, equipment, delivering stuff. So this is a list, and I know it's probably, I've missed somebody, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody who's turned out has been thanked. And now that I'm looking at it, I know Seth Nagy's on the call, and Stacy Jones as well. Stacy is my counterpart in the Piedmont. They've both been critical in these recovery efforts as well.
Thank you, Sam. Does anybody have questions for Sam?
Also, if there's anything I missed, I know several of my growers are here today. If there's something I missed, please let me know.
I also forgot to mention, Brad and Jerry are also available for questions. If anybody wants to write in the comment box questions for um, these extension panelists, let me know.
You got a question from Chad?
Oh, okay, let me see here. Let's see here. Can you see it? The question?
We can, Chad, you can unmute and ask a question. Or if that doesn't work, you might have to type it. Your mic's not working.
While Chad's, I see we do have Are Your Farmer Contacts accessing FSAs. And yes, that is something that I forgot to mention, that most, if not all, of the growers in my region have reached out to FSA and have either completed paperwork or in the process of completing paperwork for tree assistance or ECP, the Emergency Conservation Program. So that is something that growers have been access to. And Olivia Knott, who is our coordinator for the Burke, Caldwell, I believe McDowell County areas, has been tremendously helpful in that regard as well. So a lot of our growers have already reported their losses and are in the process of going through the longer term things like the ECP and the tree assistance.
All right, let's continue on. If there's no other questions, like we said, to
Wait,
ask a question,
Jamie,
you
to
sorry,
type it.
Chad did just text me.
oh, okay.
One of the questions that, and I'm glad he mentioned this, is that to ask about maybe getting reimbursed for the workers that have already been here. So right now, growers they're not making any money. This is the time that they would be selling trees to pay for the labor, but their guys are putting in 60, 70 hours a week just to clean up trees, and there's no income in the nursery. So are there ways that growers can get reimbursed for money that they've already spent to pay their labor? So just putting that out there. I told Chad I'd pass that along. So
Are there any panelists that have any ideas for that?
I know today at the meeting that we had with my growers in NCDA, Cal's Rathbone, that there was concern that these programs aren't going to be quick enough to help them, and that since they're selling, if you lose a greenhouse of product, you just not lost 2024, you lost 2025, 2026, and 2027. And no program out there addresses that to any degree. And that's what we're looking at, in the sense of how are our growers going to be able to even begin to recover if everything's going to be a reimbursement type deal instead of an upfront load up and a multi-year situation. So those are some of the concerns that were expressed today, and with the growers. So
And
sort of add to the mix. So
I would love to comment a little bit. And we are trying to sell this ship, and build it as well. So we have been awarded the National Dislocated Worker Grant. I'm going to discuss it a little bit during my 2-minute talk, but it absolutely will cover the cost for employees' salaries cleaning up. There are a few caveats to it. Again, sometimes it may come in a little too late, but it does. It actually pays the worker itself through this program, not through the grower. I think covers pretty much all expenses. As of right now, they're saying most likely just domestic workers. We are pushing to see if they could potentially cover H-2A labor cost as well. I'll have information in my slides, and more is coming. Again, we're getting information every day, but we have been awarded $10 million, and workers can apply through our local NC Works career centers in their counties. and compliance is basically a host site. And if we can help line up workers, if they have domestic workers, if other growers have workers that we can transfer to their farm, that this grant will pay for those workers during cleanup efforts up to a year. So I think that would be an extremely helpful resource to the growers.
All right, yeah, and again, we want, if to ask a question, the best thing to do is to type it into the chat box there. All right, let's continue with Miguel Perez. The next panelist is Mr. Drew Long. He's the Agriculture and Foreign Labor Program Director with NC Department of Commerce. He is with Workforce Solutions, and he'll discuss filing emergency extensions with H-2A workforce, as well as disaster unemployment insurance, and we'll update information regarding regarding disaster assistance grants. And he'll also take some questions after his talk.
Good afternoon, everybody. First and foremost, my heart absolutely breaks for our growers out west and really anybody that lives out west in the affected area. We are stumbling through this as well. We have been fielding lots of calls, lots of concerns from farmers, from agents, from friends, from community organization on what is out there to help. And we're trying our best to navigate it through it. Just a few things we wanted to bring to you based on some of the calls that we've received. A lot around H-2A workers and filing extensions, what can be done, what can't be done. And I think some of the prior presentations kind of hit on that a little bit. There are some guidances that we have put in the chat, just in a nutshell, that we are seeing some extensions filed, not to the extent that we originally anticipated, though that is not exactly with us. We can help facilitate it. A lot of times when somebody does file an extension through OFLC, they will also CC us at the h2a.joborders@ncommerce.com, and we'll kind of help you track that. If that's needed. A few things with that. With the farm cleanup, I would be very cautious to ensure you got to meet Miguel and wage and hour. And there's a lot of regulations that kind of do pertain around H-2A workers, what they can do and what they can't do. And again, this guidance kind of highlights that. But in a nutshell, I think they were very clear to say that no matter the situation at hand, the regulations are the regulations. So be very careful when we use our H-2A workers to do stuff outside of the scope of the guidance that's provided by USDOL. We do see, and we are seeing some long-term extensions. The growers that have called us say they have roughly 8-10 month contracts, usually a 2 to 4 month gap, and then the workers come back, that they're needing workers to fill that middle of the gap. And that would basically create a 20 to 22 month time frame that workers would be here. We can't promise these will be granted by ETA, but due to the circumstances, if the grower has that need, we believe that would be evaluated and potentially certified by the CO. But we also heard from prior panelists that the cost of these H-2A workers and filing these separate petitions are very prohibitive. There are a few things they are allowing under emergency circumstances where workers can get transferred from one contract to another, even to employers that do not currently use the H-2A system. And again, I think it's pretty specific in the guidance that we sent out. So that is probably a cheaper way if there's any growers up there that either don't use the system or are looking at getting in additional workers and want to capitalize on potentially workers that are finishing up a contract maybe in the eastern part of the state. That may be something to do. As well as always consider the domestic workforce. And I think that is the biggest thing that we're overlooking, are the domestic labor force out there. And I know they're not to the extent they were years and decades ago, but there's lots of funding. I think it was asked, is there any funding to pay for H-2A workers and the increases to AWERS? And I'm not saying there's not, but there are funding to pay for U.S. workers and to U.S. workers to get upskilled and to U.S. workers to get trained. We're going to talk a little bit about the National Dislocated Worker Grant that we have been awarded. Basically, that does pay 100% of a worker's salary. It is very open. They really don't go. I do not think there is a whole lot of red tape involved. At least that's what they tell me. Sometimes the government, there is too much red tape. But any grower that is interested in this, it is handled at your local level, at your local One Stop or NC Works Career Center. But we do encourage you to also include our email address below and make sure that our field reps are tracking that. We want to ensure that our farmers have equal and fair access to this. And if they need workers to do this work on their farm, that they understand that these monies are out there to help them. We understand that it's not going to be the end all do all, that we have hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of loss. We will do all we can do, but from a labor standpoint, I do think that the government picking up 100% of that salary for a specified period of time while you have workers that can do the disaster recovery, that can stand up crops, that can clean crops, that can repair roads. I think it's a pretty good deal, and I would encourage as many growers as I could to do it. And I think this is where our commodity groups can really come into play. You're going to have workers that are working on farms that are usually finishing up, let's say in early December, that were wreathing and roping operations that are U.S. workers. We may have enough money in the program to hire those U.S. workers to stay here in North Carolina and to do the recovery efforts on the farms and have the government pick up the bill. So it's not perfect. We will try to get through it together. We are here to help. Below is the email address for our inbox. I will also put my name, my cell phone number, and my email in the chat. Any grower, commodity group, anybody, feel free to reach out to me at any time. Sometimes dealing with offices that get bombarded. I just don't want your applications to get lost. We want to ensure that y'all have equal and fair access and that our farmers utilize these resources that we have.
Thank you. Thank you, Drew. There's a question from Cassandra Bear saying, is there any discussion on the H2A 3-4 guarantee for the 2025 before growers begin contracts for the 2025 season?
She's talking about the 3/4 guarantee. I'm assuming she's relating that to contract impossibilities. So I think Miguel was pretty clear that regardless of the situation that we're in, that growers are obligated to fulfill the 3/4 guarantee. Now they can also file contract impossibilities, and basically once that contract impossibility gets stamped by ETA or the USDOL, that contract would stop, and they only have to fill 3/4 up to that period of time. But as long as that contract is open and those workers are here and they haven't filed anything, that they are still obligated, regardless, to fulfill all the terms, conditions, and obligations within that contract.
Okay.
And then,
Oh, go ahead.
Drew, is there any work to try to get support for the H2A laborers that have been helping with cleanup?
We are pushing as hard as we can push, and we have not got a no, which is a really good thing. So we have people at USDOL pushing, we have lobbyists pushing, we have people pushing as hard as we can go. And sadly enough, I think somebody mentioned sometimes these grants don't come quick enough. Sometimes we stumble through them. I'm just going to tell you the honest truth is we're getting this grant and y'all needed it yesterday, and we're trying to figure out how to administer it. And there's a lot of different pieces of the puzzle. So the answer is, I don't know. And the answer is, hopefully we will get firm guidance, either a yes or no, very, very, very soon. The guidance we have, U.S. worker, absolutely. H2A worker, maybe.
Is there anything we can do to help kind of provide more evidence of why they should support? And
I would say any organization or agency that feels that it is needed for your constituents, for your growers, to reach out to the administrators of the National Dislocated Worker Grant. which is USDOL, and advocate on behalf of your growers and constituents. And I think the more advocacy that they receive, the more likelihood they are at saying yes or no.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Drew? Oh, I think that might be Rodney. Is that Rodney? Let's see. Oh, we have another question here from Gary Whitehurst. What can we do to connect with the workers and other grants? What can we do to connect with the workers in the other parts of the statutes or other ag sectors to utilize this grant? Sweet potatoes are wrapping up in the East, for example.
I think that would be a conversation among the commodity leaders as well as commerce. I mean, I think that is kind of the next steps there, Gary. So I'm glad to reach out to you, and we'll see if we can connect with sweet potatoes and see if that's something that may be a transition that could be utilized.
Megan Krentz asked, should I tell growers or their former employees to fill out this form? And she has sent a WNCdislocatedworkergrant.com / contract link.
I would just have them go to the local NC Works Career Center that's administering there in their county. And if they again want to CC us just to make sure that it's being looked at, I think that would be the wisest thing. Me not seeing it, I don't know if I can answer that.
Okay. NCNLA would like to help with this and get the grant info out. Gary's on our legislative committee. Any other questions? Let's see here. We have some folks, indicating that, as we all know, domestic workers, even in the best of times, they're not available. But yeah, and that's a really difficult thing for our industry, is the lack of domestic workers. So as we all know, that the Western North Carolina Christmas tree industry, is heavily dependent on H-2A workers. If there's no other if there's no other questions, let's see. We can go ahead and thank you for your time, Drew. We'll move on to Beth. I have Beth's slides right here. One moment. Here we go.
Thank you, Jamie. Good evening, everyone. I first want to just start out by thanking Jamie for including me here tonight, and to Sam and Brad and Jerry for sharing those photos and the stats that you shared. My heart goes out to everybody impacted by the storm, and it's just heart-wrenching to see those photos. So thank you for having me here tonight. I'm going to cover a little bit about what we do. Like Miguel with USDOL, we are a regulatory agency, so unfortunately, I don't have any funding or grants to, any assistance in that way, but I do want to just kind of talk about what we can offer. Compliance is not everyone's favorite topic, especially during times like this, but it is our role here in North Carolina. So I'm just going to briefly cover that and save time for others. Next slide, please. So as Jamie mentioned, with the North Carolina Department of Labor, I'm the Bureau Chief for the Agricultural Safety and Health Bureau. And our role here in North Carolina, for those of you that may not be familiar with us, is we promote safe working conditions for farmers and farm workers through training and education. We inspect and certify migrant farm worker housing, and we enforce the occupational safety and health standards through on-site compliance inspections. Next slide. since we are regulatory, our resources are geared towards helping both employers and employees understand their rights and responsibilities, what is required, and how to comply with the standards. So for our employers, if you have general questions about workplace safety and health requirements, you can submit those to our standards officers. We have a bureau that is the Education, Training, and Technical Assistance Bureau. They have standard officers available to kind of walk you through what standards apply and how to comply. Ag specific questions, including questions about farm worker housing, please contact me directly. My office number is listed here. It is always forwarded to my cell phone. So evenings, weekends, I'm available, and it is okay to call me. So that number is 919-707-7810. It's included at the end of the slide as well. And then I hope none of you experience a work-related injury or illness during this time, wherever. But if you do, please note that we do have specific reporting requirements, because the last thing I want is for somebody to not report in time. The hospitalizations for something that's work-related have to be reported within 24 hours. And then if there is a fatality that is work-related, that would be 8 hours. So please do make the reports if that is something that occurs. For any of the employees that are on tonight, or potentially listed in the future, if you have concerns about safety and health in the workplace, you can contact our complaint desk, or you can file a complaint online. Spanish-speaking farm workers, please call my bureau directly at 919-707-7820. But more than anything, what I think is super important always, and especially right now, is just maintaining open communication, both from the top down and from employees to supervisors. If something's going on that you are unsure about, or you don't feel good about, or please talk to your supervisor. A lot of times these items can be resolved through a simple conversation. So just want to remind everybody to maintain those open lines of communication. And as far as farm worker housing goes, we have had growers call and others ask about potentially how we can help with growers who may get additional workers or go through those additional H-2A contracts, and as it relates to housing. So for example, if their current contract ends on 11/1 and they want another set of workers to come on November 2nd, how would that happen? Because housing has to be inspected and certified 30 days out. So I will be working with growers on a case-by-case basis to approve housing. We'll issue provisionals if we can, to help with that process so that workers can get to you on time. If you have housing that's inaccessible, or you need to move workers for any reason, please contact me. I will work with you on that process as well. But all housing does need to be approved by our office. Currently, I don't have staff going to the most affected areas of the state, but I can work with you that on an individual basis. So please reach out to me. And then we have some other resources on our website. We have safety and health videos, more information about the standards, some Q&As. So that could be found on our website. And that's really all that I have to cover this evening. The next slide just has some contact information, but please, we are here to support you in any way we can. If I don't know the answer, I will reach out to one of our partner agencies to try and find out for you. So thank you for having me here tonight. And if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer those.
Thank you, Beth. Are there any questions for Beth? We have a question here. Some farms lost H-2A housing. Any issues to be aware of for sharing housing other than approved capacity?
So I would say anytime you move workers, please call me. But first and foremost, you want to make sure that the housing is certified and that it's not over occupied. If you're not sure, happy to help you with that. If you are part of an association, you can easily move workers, but there are some requirements that kind of Drew's group and Miguel's group oversee as it relates to where workers are living. But if you want to start with me, then I can kind of help in that area, letting Drew's group know that workers have been moved, and we can determine if there needs to be any other steps taken. I don't know if Drew or Miguel want to weigh in on that. But as far as we are concerned, as long as it's approved housing and it's not over occupied, they can move. But there are some H2A specific requirements that my bureau does not enforce or oversee.
Are there any other questions for Beth? All right, thank you, Beth. We appreciate that info. We will move on to Dulce Arroyo. She's the Agricultural Partner Engagement Coordinator. She'll speak about Western Health contract sites for a few minutes.
Thank you, Jamie, and good evening, everyone. Just make sure, are you able to see my screen, Jamie?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. As Jamie mentioned, I'm with North Carolina's Farm Worker Health Program with North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. Some of you that I see on the call are familiar, and we've already been on calls together, so I'm glad that we're staying connected through these times. I just want to share that we at NCFHP have 7 migrant health centers located in Western North Carolina, of which 4 of those are directly NCFHP funded health sites, which that just means that we are in close communication with them and have kind of assessed some of the damages that not only the health centers have seen, but also knowing which migrant camps they have already visited to provide some of the health services that we connect the farm workers to. I think the biggest thing for you all to know is that if you have identified farm workers or have farm workers that are needing any health services, to connect them directly to these sites or connect to the sites directly. And the clinic map that I have shared, and I've shared it in the chat, but I can reshare it again and send it over to Jamie if you want to email blast it out, as well as the website. The clinic map has contact information for each outreach coordinator or outreach staff that does the outreach efforts out to the camps. You can contact that person and inform them of any medical needs that the farm workers may be having. They're able, in some cases, have the capacity to go directly out to the camps because we know transportation is a big issue for this population. But we can also go to the camps and transport them directly to the clinic. But this is based on a clinic by clinic. We'll have different capacities. So we just urge you to call to see what services are currently able to provide, because we do have some of the clinics that have served some damages as well due to the hurricane. But I think that's the biggest thing that we want to put out there. And then 4 of our migrant clinic sites, which are Vecinos, Good Samaritan Clinic, App Healthcare, and Surrey Medical Ministries, have supplies available that they can actually distribute out to the farm workers on a case-by-case basis, which are portable solar chargers, manual can openers, and we also have portable gas cans that they can be used to transport any of those needs as well. I'll put my contact information in the chat. You're able to reach directly out to me in case that you're not able to contact one of these health centers. They are extremely saturated, as you can imagine, at this time, responding to not only health needs of the farm workers, but also the general public in the area as well. So that's time to get back in contact with you may be a little delayed due to that as well.
Thank you, Dulce. I'm seeing if anybody has a question for Dulce, please type it in the chat. Okay, I'm not seeing anything. Appreciate that information, Dulce. We'll move on to Alyssa Spence. She is the interim director of the North Carolina Agro-Medicine Institute. She'll provide some resources available through her organization, the NC Agro-Medicine Institute. Oh, Dulce, if you could, well, we'll just go ahead and Dulce, if you could stop sharing your screen, we'll move on to Alyssa. All right, thanks.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Like everyone else, I echo everyone's comments. I live in Kinston now, but I'm actually from Marshall, North Carolina in Madison County, and my family owned and operated a greenhouse operation for over 30 years. So definitely identify with some of the struggles being experienced among these groups. I am the interim director of the North Carolina Agri-Medicine Institute, and so it's our organization's purpose to serve the safety and health needs of farmers, farm workers, farm family members, foresters, fishermen, and other people involved in agriculture in North Carolina. And so on the screen, you can see a handout that I also dropped in the chat with a share link that summarizes some of the resources that we have that can be helpful to Hurricane Helene response. And so that first thing there is a request form for PPE. We've got some really good partners in other states in Appalachian Regional Healthcare that has helped us fill bulk PPE orders. They're shipped directly to whatever the local site is that needs them, and they ship them pretty quick. So if you have any PPE needs, feel free to fill out that form. Shoot us an email if you're not exactly sure what you need. Or we can also help you locate resources that we know are already out there in the field. For example, I know Jerry Moody's got 4 XL suits that he's looking to get rid of. If anyone knows anyone that can fit those 4 XLs. And then we also have a couple of grants that we already had available, but they can be used for to purchase some products that might be helpful during the hurricane. So for example, our specialty crop grant allows any producer that produces a specialty crop access to a cost share program that allows them to make safety and health improvements around the farm. One of the things that is qualified under this grant is a generator, hand washing stations. So there's some other things that might be helpful to growers during this time. And then while this won't benefit everyone, we also have the Migrant Housing Internet Connectivity Grant, which will pay for things like Starlink or even internet services through Starlink to help connect migrant housing units, which benefits the entire farm to internet through some of those things that like Starlink that is better for the types of conditions that we're seeing now. And then we also operate the North Carolina Farm Helpline. So if it doesn't matter if it's a farmer, a farm worker, or a farm family member, if they're just looking for resources, whether that be mental health, financial, legal, really whatever the need is, and they just need a little help and direction, they can call that Farm Helpline and we'll get them pointed into the right direction. So we might direct them to a lot of the agencies that we're seeing on the call tonight, or they might be interested in setting up some counseling services to help cope with some of the things that they've experienced during the hurricane. And so we do have partners like CareNet and some other providers that are what we call agriculturally competent mental health providers that can help reach out to those impacted. And they're not going to say things like, oh, well, you should just sell the farm, or, take a day off. That'll really help. But they really understand agriculture and can help with counseling services that way. So that's what we have. Like I said, I dropped that in the chat. But if you have any questions, just let me know.
Thank you, Alyssa. Let's see. Sam asked, where's the info for the Starlink?
So the Starlink is going to be under that Migrant Housing Internet Connectivity Project. And like I said, that's going to be limited to some of those farms that have migrant workers. But yeah, it's under that. There's a Go link there, and then you can also scan the QR code to see more information on that one.
Okay, thank you. I don't believe we have Mr. Etheridge, Bob Etheridge, the state director. He tried to call in, but I don't believe he was able to call in. Do we have Bob on the line? Bob Etheridge?
He wasn't able to get in.
He wasn't able to get in, right? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, he really wanted to be here today. He is the state executive director of the USDA Farm Services Agency in North Carolina, and has been touring in many places that had a lot of damage. We'll move on to Mr. James Davis, who you can see here, and I have your slides. Let me. And James Davis is the Price Support and Operations Chief of the FSA. He will discuss the TAP program, the Tree Assistance Program, and the NAP program, the Non-Assured Crop Disaster Assistance Program. Thank you,
All
James,
right.
for being here.
All right. Good evening, everyone. And again, let me apologize for Mr. Etheridge not able to be on. As Jamie alluded to, he is in the mountains at this present time. The Secretary of Agriculture is in town. We'll be touring around in the mountains tomorrow. And of course, hoping we'll be able to get some more assistance from the federal government besides the assistance that we have already on hand. So we're there to be putting together different packages and hope, we will be able to give some more assistance to everyone that's up there in the mountains. Again, my heart goes out to everyone that was affected in this situation. As you see on the slide, that's my email address. I will put my phone number in the chat, and I will put our overall number to the aides that could call in. Anybody have any questions that they might have after this call? What I'm going to start with, what Jamie got on the screen is our NAP program that we call our Non-Insured Crop Disaster Assistance Program, which basically is a program that help producers have insurance on their produce, like the pictures we first seen with the Christmas trees and ornamental nursery and things of that nature. But the one thing about that program, that is a program that had to be applied for prior to. So unfortunately, this program will not help anybody after the fact, the aftermath, but hopefully some of those pictures that we've seen, those producers already had coverage on those particular crops, their Christmas trees and things of that nature. And of course, we hate this to happen. And as alluded to, a lot of these people may not be able to start over with this. So I'm hoping that they did have this insurance program. And for all those that are on the line, this is a program that can help insure your crops. We insure all crops under this program that's not covered under regular crop insurance, such as your tobacco, soybeans, cotton, things of that nature. But we do cover most all specialty crops, from ornamentals to Christmas trees and things of that nature. And in this particular program here, we do cover for beginning farmers, limited resource farmers, veteran farmers. This program is a free application process at a 50 to 55% level that you can take coverage out on. And if you fall under one of those classes, social disadvantage or limited resource, this application fee is waived and it's free to have basic coverage level. And then if you fall under one of those classes, if you want to get buy-up level to the highest level of 65% of your yield at 100% of your price, then if you fall on that level, this program would be, the premium would be 50%. So I know, and I hate that it can't help with individuals after the fact, but those producers hopefully had NAP insurance. The ones that had it have gone into our offices here. Of course, we got 100 counties in North Carolina, but we have a presence in 72 of those counties. And the number that I put on the line, if anyone's not familiar with, the number that I'm going to put in the chat, you call that number and someone will definitely be able to get you in touch with one of those county offices. We want to definitely make sure you know about this program. So Jamie, with this program and the next program that I'm talking about, producers that may have had it will be able to get benefits not only from the NAP program, but the next program that I'm going to talk about is our TAP program, Jamie. Mm-hmm. The TAP program, the Tree Assistance Program, is a program to help with bushes, vines, Christmas trees, things of that nature, fruit trees, ornamentals. That is a replanted or a rehabilitation program. Of course, with a lot of disasters that we've seen, there won't be no need for rehab. We definitely be need for replanting. And one thing with this program, we have waived a lot of things to go with these programs. And with the NAP program, site visits are normally have to be done. But we as a state, we have waived those requirements. There's no site visit requirements. You just need to go into one of the local offices or call the local offices and discuss these programs. Tell them that you're interested in signing up for it. The Tree Assistance Program is a program that you don't have to have coverage on or anything. It's an ad hoc program that's available anytime a natural disaster occurs. You have up until, what my notes said, January the 30th of 2025 to come in to apply for resources regarding this program. If with this program here, I know we need a lot of money up front, but again, this is a program that will cover 65% of replanting costs to get those trees back in the ground, if possible. If you happen to fall on a beginning farmer or a veteran farmer, you can get 75% to get it replanted. Under this program will cover an individual producer up to 1,000 acres. So the acres is up to 1,000. If you have, you can get compensated for it. You can receive, if a person had NAP insurance, you can receive NAP and TAP benefits. What you can't, it's not that you have to receive one or the other. You can receive both benefits if you have them. So we definitely want you to make sure you take advantage of the tree assistance program. And if anybody that's out there on the line listening that never had NAP before, call our local office and talk about this program and get insurance. Right now, the deadline for 2025 starts. Normal date for most crops is February 28th, 2025 for most crops. But a lot of crops have started. Countdown, like strawberries has passed for September 1 for 2025. The strawberry application fee has passed for NAP insurance. But for people still that want to insure, there's some waivers we can look at that as far as getting insurance on that. Especially for anybody that had lost that crop that already had set it out and want to get back in it and do it again, please make sure they contact our local office. Jamie, again, that's just in a nutshell, those two programs. I'll be glad to talk with anybody that's on the line personally about that. I'm going to put my number in the chat, and I'm also going to put the main line number. And that's all I have, Jamie. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Appreciate that information. Is there anybody that has questions for James Davis? All right, let's move on to Melissa Smith. She is the Farm Program Chief. Let me stop sharing the screen so we can move on to Melissa Smith. She is the Farm Programs Chief of the Farm Services, the FSA, Farm Service Agency. She will introduce the Emergency Conservation Program. Melissa,
good evening.
Yeah.
I'm Melissa Smith, and I am James Davis's other half. So James does programs that support a lot of farm programs, but our division does disaster. So within our division, we have the livestock indemnity program that will pay on animals lost during disasters. So if you have animals lost, you should please contact your FSA office. That's Olivia Knott in McDowell County, Brian McMurray in Cleveland. Excuse me, I'm a little sick tonight. Kelly Springs is over in Henderson County, Charlie Zink in Buncombe County, Philip Moore is over in Jackson Swain, works out of Murphy a lot. And so Julia Hulk is in Watauga, and they are all doing a really good job collecting the data on losses. We've been contacted by NCDA to provide our loss data to them because they are working to provide some assistance for things that we don't cover. So with the Livestock Assistance Program, that's going to cover animals. With the ELAP program, which is the Emergency Livestock Assistance Program, and it will pay for honeybees. They don't pay for colonies, but they do pay for super damage, supers, and various other stuff like feed and whatnot. They pay on farm-raised catfish if somebody is growing those. And so it pays on feed that was lost. If it was feed that was hay stacked in the field for feeding purposes, and you lost all that, you just come to our office and explain to us what you lost, and we have money to support that. And so what is going to be of the most assistance, I believe, is going to be the programs that Evelina is over top of. We also have CRP, which if there are counties that have CRP that is being in the program, we can ask that that be allowed to be grazed if they come up short on grazing and have the ability to use that. So we can always ask for that. That's the one thing that we have not requested at this point. So, and at this point, I want to introduce Evelina Best, and she is the ECP and EFRP, as well as environmental quality assessments, the 850. She's the state representative for that program. So at this point, I want to turn it over to her. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight, and I will put our information in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Melissa. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you again, Jamie, for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening and to share the information regarding our emergency conservation programs to our farmers and our ranchers and landowners. Once again, my name is Evelina Best, and I am the Emergency Conservation Program Specialist with the North Carolina Farm Service Agency. This evening I'm going to be speaking on two of our emergency conservation program implementation programs that we do. One of them is for ECP, which ECP, or the Emergency Conservation Program, is a cost share program that provides emergency funding and technical assistance to farmers and ranchers to rehabilitate farmland damaged by natural disaster. This ECP does not compensate participants for damage to non-farmland or buildings. This cost share ECP is paid at 75% of the total allowable cost. If you are a limited resource or socially disadvantaged or a beginning farmer, you can receive up to 90% of the cost. There is a qualifying minimum cost for ECP, and it is $1,000. And we also have a payment limitation of up to $500,000. These are some of the practices that ECP covers: removing of debris from farmland, grading, shaping, releveling, or similar measures, replacing or restoring permanent fences, restoring conservation structures and other installations, emergency soil erosion control measures, other emergency conservation measures, field windbreaks and farmstead shelters, and emergency measures. Another ECP or another emergency program that we do have is the EFRP program. This is a cost share program that provides financial and technical assistance to owners of non-industrial private forest land, or NIP, to carry out emergency measures to restore forest health and restore forest resources damaged by natural disasters. The non-industrial private forest land is what we consider rural forest land with existing tree cover or which are suitable for growing trees that are owned by a private non-industrial forest landowner. Forest land is considered land that is at least 120 feet wide and 1 acre in size and at least 10% covered by live trees in any size. There is also a minimum qualifying cost for this program of $1,000. The payment limitation is $500,000 as well. This cost share payment pays up to 75% of the cost to implement the approved restoration practice. On the screen, you can see a few practices for the EFRP. We have the hardwood forest restoration, the softwood forest restoration, mixed forest restoration, and the longleaf pine restoration. The national office has authorized for our state the ECP and EFRP program sign up. This sign up started October the 15th, and it will run through June the 1st of 2025. If in the event that June the 1st starts to roll around and someone is not able to complete their practice at that time, they can request for an extension that is available upon request. The national office has also relaxed or flexed some of the requirements that we've had in the past as for implementing these ECP and EFRP programs. And this is just to expedite the sign-up process. And one of these flexibilities is the waiver of the on-site inspection. The FSA office will not go out to the participants' land to do an on-site inspection. If the participant wish to have an on-site inspection done, we will honor his request. We do ask that if you can, please provide FSA with photos, any type of GPS points, imagery, maps, whatever that can help us to identify this property. ECP waivers are authorized for the practices EC1, EC2, EC3, EC5, and EC7, EC8, but it is not authorized for EC4. EC4 is a more technical practice that is supported by NRCS. EFRP is also authorized for all practices to remove hazard trees of up to 100 acres aggregate. The restoration plan required for other activities. So there will be a restoration plan that is required. The national office has also flexed the start and work requirement. Participants are able to start work prior to application or submitting an application to FSA office. County offices can accept ECP and EFRP cost share requests for emergency activities for Helene, which have already started or completed. These practices or this work must align with activities that we have for our emergency response 850s. These activities must not have or should not have ground disturbance below the plow line. Another waiver that has been put into place by the national office is the duplicate benefits payment. DAFI has authorized that the duplicate benefit policy to allow participants to receive ECP and or EFRP assistance as long as the participant is not receiving assistance for the same activity on that same ground for the same disaster from another federal program. And then even if the prior restoration work is under lifespan from another program. As advanced payments are available for ECP participants, participants can request up to 25% of the total cost share that's available to them. EFRP is not available for advanced payments. With ECP, you can also receive partial payments. So partial payments may be processed to a producer as he completes a portion of the approved extent. These are some additional resources that we do have to contact our office. If you please contact your local FSA office for more information for requesting or signing up for ECP and EFRP. And that is all I have. And if If anyone would like to contact me, I will put my number in the chat along with my email address.
Thank you, Evelina. Appreciate that information. Does anybody have a question? We have a question. Can ECP be filed on one farm now and again later if needed?
At this time, I think that the FSA office will work with you in a situation like that because we don't know exactly, what forms you may need to file your ECP assistance on. And
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
And in some cases, some activities might be more extensive or need more extensive work than other. And so you may need to come in and file on one form and not the other.
We have another question. Melissa Smith asked if there was a cap dollar program for TAP. James Davis replied that it was $125,000 payment limitation. Is there a cap dollar amount for ECP?
The payment limitation for ECP is $500,000.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, we will thank you for that that presentation. We will move on to Mike Brown, who is the Farm Loan Chief of FSA. He will discuss emergency loans. I have his presentation here. All right.
Good afternoon. Thank y'all for having me. Thank you for this opportunity to help get our information out there. I am the Farm Loan Chief for North Carolina. Naturally, disaster designations have been in place all over the state. I think we've got about 91 counties covered now. So emergency loans are available throughout the state. In the western part of the state where most of our folks are tonight, we're probably going to end up with physical type losses. Our emergency loans can come in and help repair or pay for production type losses or physical losses. Our maximum loss loan is $500,000, and the significance on it is a low interest. The interest is locked in at 3.75%. And depending on the type of security we have and the use of funds, we can go up to 40 years if it's a real estate type repair that we're working on. So our emergency loans are available. We can help with these cost share programs. So our loans could actually fund these cost share programs, and we file assignments to get the money back to pay it on the loan. And look, we know that farmers don't need another loan, okay? Free money is always better, and that's where we want to help them get, but sometimes they need the money up front. So our emergency loans could be an option to help get some of this paid. Early on, it was talked about the need for funding up front on some of this cost share. So our emergency loans could be a way to get that money to them before all the cleanup happens. So we do have our regular direct loans, OLs and FOs, operating loans and farm ownership. The interest rates are higher on those. Operating loans are 4.875 and our farm ownership loans are 5.375. They are fixed, so we can help replace equipment. We can help replace facilities, dwellings, whatever the farmer needs, we would look into, and if he's going to continue farming, we would be available to help him. I would encourage folks to go to farmers.gov. There are limits. Our emergency loan limits are $500,000. Our farm ownership limits are $600,000. And our OL term loan limits are $400,000. So we're talking about roughly $1.5 million available through our direct loans. We can also work with lenders to help replace some of the stuff. And our guaranteed limit is $2.5 million, or I'm sorry, $2.2 million. So we could work with our lenders in the area that are working with farmers also. So I would encourage everybody to go to farmers.gov. You can ask your local FSA office contact. We do have farm loan officers and managers in the western part of the state. We do have an online application. I will put my contact information in the chat also, along with my email address. If we have questions, please feel free to ask. Everybody's situation is going to be a little bit different because we are talking about personal finances, but we'll be glad to work with you and see what kind of help we can help you with. The disaster assistance handout that Jamie's put up is some general information about our disaster assistance. I think I sent you another one, didn't I, Jamie?
Yep.
Covering our regular loans.
Here we go.
Yeah, so that's our regular loan. It outlines our regular loans that are available. You know, we're here. We're here to help you. So if you have questions, please let us know, and I'll be glad to take any questions if somebody'd like to ask.
Are there any questions for Mike?
Farmers.gov has a lot of information
Okay.
on all of our USDA programs.
Thank you, Mike. We appreciate that information.
Yes, thank you.
We'll move on to our last panelist today, David Allen Wayne. He's a district engineer for NCDOT in North Wilkesboro, Ashland Wilkes. He'll discuss current road conditions and the drivenc.gov map. I have his information. I have some truck routing applications that he sent here. David, are you here? I know he was calling in from a drive. Let's see. He may.
Hey, can you hear me, Jamie?
Yeah, we can hear you. Let me share your document that you sent me. Here we go.
Yeah, so that just real quick, I'm David Wayne with North Wilkesboro District Office. So I handle Wilkes and Ashe counties, but Jamie had asked me to speak on behalf of sort of the conditions we have in Ashe County, and as well, you know, I think it's throughout the western region there with the roads. One of the big topics that we have probably is the DriveNC website, and DriveNC is not a GPS application or anything like that. It is a mapping system to show routes that are affected not just by the storm, but by wrecks that may happen on the road or accidents that may happen on the road, closures that may happen, whether it's for construction or for items like for Hurricane Helene, the damage there. But one thing, just wanted to touch base on DriveNC in general. I've talked to our STOC office in Raleigh, and they have sent me some information, which is the information that Jamie's put on the screen here. But it's talking more about applications that are available for really the trucking industry is where I'm going with this literature here. But it's really for it's really trying to implement for the truckers coming in with, you know, with the goods, and, you know, more for Christmas trees where we're at right now. But really having them to use applications that are geared towards trucker routes. That's really where our TIMS, the DriveNC gets its information from our TIMS system with DOT, which is Travel Information Management Systems. So really when we have a problem with one of our roads, we'll update it, put it on TIMS. It'll link directly in with DriveNC, where it may link to something like Google Maps, Apple Maps, Waze, but it may not carry all the restrictions for the trucking industry. So if there's trucking restrictions on some of these routes, those other applications like Google, Waze, and Apple may not pick those up. So our STOC manager there, she wanted to share those applications in that document that Jamie's got shared. Really to try to push that out to any of the distribution with Christmas trees or any other growers, any kind of farming applications that may be using trucking in the western region right now. So again, if you put Drive NC into the search link, it'll pull up. You'll have a red ribbon there right now because it's got a lot of warnings, really just letting you know what is. Thank you, Jamie. Really what is showing up there. And you can see in that region, a lot of orange, you got a lot of yellow, and you got a lot of icons with trucks on it with a no symbol on it. But what the trucking symbol is, that is restricted routes. I know, Jamie, you did pass on that 30-foot question earlier about anything longer than 30 feet being restricted. Those are trying to be captured on this same mapping system. However, those may not transpose over to the Google Waze and Apple Maps, those other attributes. So that is strongly encouraged to use those applications that you post. You're welcome to share those on the site or with anybody that's on here, anybody that else that may need that. But and if you click on some of the yellows, you know, they may be a road closed where the bridge is out or where the road got washed completely in two. So those are impassable as well. So this is really a mapping system used more so if you're planning your routes. A lot of times with GPS units, you let the system figure it out for you as you go versus planning ahead. So I would say for the trucking industry in the western region, it would be wise to get that word out and really plan the routes accordingly. And as well, you know, something else, Jamie, that the information that I passed on to you, you know, that's all in English. That stuff probably would help if it was, you know, translated over into Spanish, you know, and those other languages just for that particular purpose. Because talking with several in the mountain region with Christmas tree growers and those kind of things, a lot of times people that are coming to the area to pick up trees and long haul and supporting the distribution of those trees are not locals. They're not people that are aware of the curvature of the roads in its normal condition. And then now we've got a lot of restricted lanes, narrow lanes, temporary signals, and those kind of things supporting these sites. Those items can be addressed through this Drive NC with planning ahead on these routes. And, you know, it is encouraged to make sure that these truckers know that. So, again, Jamie, I may be off subject here. I want to be sure I stay intact with my time here, but some of the questions you had posed, you know, if a road is noticed as impassable, who do we contact? You know, the biggest thing there is reach out to your local DOT and make sure they're aware of it, and they can put that into the TIM system, which really updates immediately once we hit save on that incident. So we put it in as an incident. And I will say this, Jamie, if you would like for me to send you some more information about county maintenance offices and district offices that are located along the western region, I can do it for the whole state, but really where we're affected right now would be in the western region. I can put that together at the first of the week and send that out to you for contacts. There's stuff on the website that you can find, but maybe easier for me to try to fill that out and send to you.
I think that would be helpful. And I know Blake Williams, who is a county agent in the Western North Carolina region, he's doing a lot of organization with speaking to farmers and connecting the trucking information and road information to DOT. So I think he's here on this call.
Yeah, I think I've seen him there too. We spoke earlier today as well. And he, you know, again, I can speak more for Ashe County through this event just because of my close relation to it. But I feel like you going down into Watauga, Avery, Yancey, McDowell, down towards Asheville, Buncombe County, and those areas. I know I'm missing a lot of counties there, but you go down that way. You know, the same system serves the same purpose statewide. So I think that's something to pass along. Let's see. Another question was. The mapping I think I answered that question earlier. Let's see. Yeah, using GPS specifically made for trucks. That's really where those applications I had set. And then the other question, you know, some of the questions that may be out there about I-40 and I-26. really on both of those locations are at the Tennessee, around the Tennessee, North Carolina line. And we don't have a lot of information that's available towards the time frame on either one of those routes right now. Kelly did share with me that on I-40 we do not have a reopening date, but I-26 it's not. I don't believe it's closed in North Carolina based on what she's saying, but it is right inside of Tennessee, but it's been open recently for cars, but not for trucks. So with that being said, that goes back to where these long haul type applications can be impacted, and then get off on the side roads that lead to a lot of stuck traffic, a truck, caught where you can't back out, those kind of things. And I know a lot of this stuff with Christmas trees, it happens, it might happen late at night, through the night, early morning. So they may be out there stranded in somewhere where they don't know where they're at. So again, upfront preparation for all these trucking companies, the growers. Really, I talked to Blake about this. It's very important for the growers as they, working with the trucking industry to get those trees hauled out. It is very important for them to try to maybe map those locations where they're coming to and from, and it just may be a simple map to say, hey, stay on these routes, do not veer, with whatever your GPS is saying, because most of them can be reached with probably 95% of the route being on a primary road. And most of our primary, well, I'm not going to say, there's a lot of primaries that are disrupted by this as well, but we're working on these narrowed lanes. We're working to try to put temporary signals in these locations where it is conducive for larger moving equipment and more safer in these site restricted areas. So I hope that helps a whole lot. Like I said, I can answer any questions anybody has, or at least try or find that information out for you. But I did want to let you know how Drive NC works, and that data is evident. It's basically what DOT puts in when they have stranded, or when they have sites that are restricted. And that comes from our DOT offices and our DMV when highway patrols report to an accident. So that's really all I have, Jamie. But you're welcome to ask me questions, and I'll try to answer them best I can.
Thanks, David. I think we have a question from Stacy Jones. Is there an app for drivenc.gov?
Is there a what now?
Application for like a phone?
I'm not real technology friendly, so I'm not 100% sure on that. I do know just putting it in the web search, it works.
Sorry.
And I would say it's out there, but I can't completely guarantee that. I can find that out and let you know though. Okay.
Okay. The other question from Rodney is, who would Mitchell, Avery, Yancey contact for our issues with roads?
Mitchell and Avery and Yancey. Okay, Avery County is in the same division I'm in. They're in District 1, which is out of Boone. I'll have to pull up all the maps to see where McDowell, Yancey, Mitchell, those areas. I know they're in Division 13, but I'm not 100% sure which district and who the contact is. But I know Avery can be the contact there would be Kenny Hebner. But again, I believe it's going to be easier for me to send that information out to you written out to where you can do that. As long as, if Monday's okay, I'm going to be out of town the rest of the weekend, but I will be back Monday and I will get that out to you.
We can add that information. Maybe we can for the link in which somebody would download this whole webinar or the slide deck. We can add the information maybe for each district in the Western area, their contact.
Yes, most definitely. Most definitely. And I will work on that and get that out. I should have had it prepared probably for this meeting, and I apologize for that.
Oh, no. Oh, well, we're all here to learn. Are there any other questions for David? And we can also, or any of the panelists. We have, let's see. Okay, so from the Estes to host and panelists to James Davis, the tap cap of $125,000. Is this for the entire farm company or per county or per farm field?
That is per producer. that's 125,000 per producer for however many stands he may have on their particular property. So that's per producer.
Yeah. Are there any other questions from any of the attendees? Okay, thanks, David. Thank you so much for I know David is in the eastern part of the state right now, watching his daughter play volleyball. And I know this was it's a late webinar. I really appreciate all the panelists spending their evening talking about resources with us. I learned a lot. I hope everybody learned a lot, and we'll have the link again for the whole webinar up soon, and then the link for the slide deck as well. Thanks to everyone. Are there any other last questions? All right. Oh, and I have one more slide to show here. Let's see. I have the let's see. I have all the panelists. I have all the panelists information here. And let's see here. Okay, so here we are with all the panelists' information, their email addresses, and their organization. Wanted to get that out there to folks. All right, thanks again, people, for coming out and spending your Thursday afternoon with us.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Jamie.
Bye.